My name is Jeremy Walton, and here's some tips you need to know for Lightroom. Let's go! If you're new to Lightroom or have been editing for a while, I want to cover how I edit my photos. It doesn't take much to get going. I just want you to get started so you can find your style. Taking good photos is a must, but we're going to assume you have that covered. This is a photo I took while in Montreal. I had to wait until the sun set for the street lights to come on. It became overcast at that point, but we will tackle all that in this edit. Let's hop into Lightroom and get to work. Here's the raw photo I will be working with that I took with my Canon R3. It looks pretty dark right now because I exposed for the sky and these lamps. I just loved how everything pulls your attention down this cobblestone alley. The first thing I always like to do is go to setting and hit auto settings. I just like to see what happens and where Lightroom thinks everything needs to be. You can skip this step if you want or just hit reset to start over. Now, I know this is going to be a dark and moody photo, so let's create that with a few simple adjustments. I'm going to bring the exposure down and add more contrast. I'm always around the 20 to 25 range. That's a great starting point. I want to slightly raise the highlights. I'll leave the shadows alone, and when I raise the highlights, I like to do the same for the whites, and I'll leave it right there. Here's a quick before and after, but we are just getting started. If you watched my other video, I like using clarity. It doesn't work on all photos, but it'll work great for this one alongside texture and dehaze. I'm going to crank the clarity all the way up. Not my style, but something you might want to lean into. I'm a little more subtle. Just like contrast, I'm in the 20 to 25 range. It's a nice little pop for the photo. It also deserves a little texture and dehaze. Too much starts to look odd for my taste. You could call it a day for this photo, but I need to push it a bit more. You can see how small little tweaks can really change things, so let's see what else we can do. When I get to vibrance and saturation, I start to slide back and forth and see what happens and adjust to what I like. I don't like what it's doing with the blues, so I'm going to decrease the vibrance. For saturation, I like the bump in color with the street lamps. Let's not get crazy. You can always change it later. We also have tone curve right here. This is a popular choice, but with photos like this, I tend to skip it. Next up is color mixer. In my photos, I manipulate a lot of things here, and this is where I'll start making some choices on the look of this picture. Right here is point color. This is new, and there's already a ton of videos on this, but I'll cover it quickly. If you want to select a color, you know the drill. Now we can change the saturation. You can always go further under range, and now you can narrow in on that color so it doesn't affect anything else. A great tool in certain cases. For us, I'm sticking with the mixer. I'm not going to mess with hue. I like what this color is doing. If we go to saturation, I'm going to take all of this color out except for orange and yellow. That might seem bold, but if we do a before and after, you can see there wasn't much color in this photo to begin with. I just took it all out. Using masks is the other tool I like to utilize to create a look. Let's go to masking and then linear gradient. I'm going to drag it up to the end of the street. All I want is to emphasize what's already happening. That means lowering the exposure a bit, then dropping texture all the way down to -100. It's a small adjustment, but helps create our look. This adjustment tends to be more uniform, so I usually like to select my brush, bring the shadows to -20, and just darken up some spots to shape these edges and build up some more contrast. A little can go a long way. To counter what we've just done, I like to find the brighter sections of the photo and make them pop or stand out a bit more. That's super simple to do. Once again, you'll select your brush. Bring your highlights to 10 and bring your clarity to 12. You can always change this later if you want to strengthen the effect. I'll start with the street and work my way down. Then it's just finding a few other sections like right here, and I think a couple more spots on the building need a helping hand. Very subtle changes, but if you look at the before and after, you can see your eye is being drawn to the center of the frame. Whenever I'm taking photos, I love having lights in my frame, especially in a photo like this. Reflections are good. I love when buildings have interior lights on. All good stuff, and all I really do is increase the exposure and saturation, so let's do that. Again, select your brush. For exposure, 0.15 should be plenty, and for saturation, 20 is always a good starting point. And now we can make our brush larger and start working our way back, adjusting our size as we go. All that looks good, and I think I need to add some highlights. I'm going with 10, and I like that. Another before and after, and all the work we're doing is adding up. You don't have to have some secret ability to start editing a photo. Make some decisions, and if you don't like it, change it. And the more you do it, the more you can find your style, what you like and don't like, and get better. After looking at this photo, I wanted to add one more touch. There wasn't a lot of color to begin with, and the sky was basically washed out because it was overcast. I love clouds, sunsets, just a mixture of elements, but you can't always get lucky. An overcast sky does make it a lot easier to replace that sky with something better. That used to be time consuming, but now it's a breeze. Let me show you what I'll be doing. Here's a shot of the sky I took a little earlier in the day. I already made adjustments and have it saved to a folder. I wanted to show you the full picture here. This is a great example of a mixture of everything I like to see in a sky. Yes, I know AI can do a lot, but I still like working this way. All I do is snap a few photos anytime I see a sky that I think will work in a photo and save them for later if needed. Not very difficult to do. The next step is heading over to Photoshop. Here's our photo once again, and all we need to do is go to Edit and select Sky Replacement. Our image is already selected, and I like to start by moving it around to see what I like. Something like this I think will match our scene nicely. I don't want to add too much color. I'll bring the fade edge down to 30, and the brightness needs to go up slightly. This brightness is about the same as our background, and that hint of blue is perfect. Once I have something that works, I stop messing with it and hit OK. Here's a before and after. It's a hint of color with a little contrast from a sky I shot at least in the same location. After you're done, just save and quit Photoshop. Back over in Lightroom, the image will pop up. Here's our photo with the new sky, and take a look at our original. A slight change with little effort. This is usually how I work. There are little tips and tricks I use. Over time, you'll develop your own. This video was about getting to work and not overthinking your decisions. Let me show you the original raw photo we started with. And here's our final after Lightroom and Photoshop. It all starts with taking a good photo, but sometimes that means understanding how you're going to edit that photo. That influence can determine how you want to shoot a scene. Experience in both areas will make you better. In Lightroom though, it's easier to hit that reset button. Well, there you have it. Simple tips you need to know for Lightroom. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button because there's definitely more on the way. Subscribe so you don't miss out. Leave a comment if you have questions. Until next time, it's a wrap.